Let's break down the craziness of college football today. Plus, we'll talk about some players that we're going to be keeping an eye on here in the second half for the Tigers. Let's go. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for coming back to Louisiana Boot Crew Media. I am Teddy Brennan, and we are sponsored very thankfully by Revel Asphalt Services. Give them a call. Miller's going to take really good care of you. We're so happy to have them on here at Boot Crew Media throughout the whole platform. So very, very excited about that. But not a whole lot to talk about in terms of the Tigers because it was a bye week. But I mean, when you talk about some of the teams that you're going to be looking at here moving forward, you got a really good look. And you saw Florida take care of business against Old Texas and Arch Manning. And so, that win looks a little better for you if you're LSU. And then you go to Clemson and they beat the shit out of UNC. I mean, UNC fans were leaving there in the first quarter. I mean, so all of a sudden, just kind of with things happening the way that they happened today, LSU doesn't look in a terrible spot, honestly. If Nussmeier can get healthier, because we all know that that's been his issue, is his health. And if he can get healthier and he can start to push the football down the field, you bring back a Caden Durham, and then you start to hopefully get the running game going a little bit because you've had no threat at quarterback. You've had no ability to like I said, stretch it down the field. But, these zone reads that Joe Sloan's been running, I don't really know what he's doing because Nuss is never taking it. Even if he was healthy, I don't think he's going to take that. I mean, Jaden Daniels may take that 60, 70% of the time, but Nussmeier is not Jaden Daniels. We know that, particularly in the running game, but he can throw the football. So we'll see if he can get healthy. Just with what we saw today in college football, Alabama wins 30-14. Vanderbilt had, a pretty good run there. Almost seemed like it was in Alabama's head to a certain degree, but then Ty Simpson settled down. He found Ryan Williams, and then the rest was history because Alabama was supremely talented. And give Vanderbilt a lot of credit. Give Diego Pavia a lot of credit. He's going to be coming into Death Valley in 2 weeks. So that's going to be another exciting matchup. I mean, so LSU is facing quite a gauntlet of quarterbacks here moving forward. Lenore Sellers coming in next week on the 11th. And then, of course, Diego. And then you're going to have you go to Tuscaloosa with Ty Simpson. And then John Mateer. He's probably going to be healthy at the end of the year for Oklahoma. Oklahoma is going to be looking to be playing for a lot at that point. So LSU, Blake Baker, Brian Kelly, Harold Perkins, they've got their cups full, certainly, because there's just not a great team in college football this year. I think most years you could probably say, all right, look, you know what, this is definitely by far the best team, or these are the 2 or 3 best teams. You could even remember in 2019 with LSU, even though they were by far and away the best team, that, Ohio State, Clemson, Oklahoma, and Alabama were pretty close in that race too. But there's none of that. I don't even think there's a number one, to be honest. And so I think that works very well for LSU because I think LSU was a sexy pick in the preseason, that they could make some noise because of the factor that there's a lot of parity in college football, a lot of that having to do with NIL and the transfer portal. And so it's, basically adapt or die, right? And so LSU was a little slow to the game, just probably out of arrogance in a sense, just because the LSU always recruits amazing talent. But once they realize that, all right, here we go, this is just the way of the, it's a nuclear arms race now, and they went big. They went big. They got donors. The Tiger fans stepped up, and so LSU's in as good a shape as they could have been. As depressing as that loss was to Ole Miss, this week should really rejuvenate Tiger fans' hopes because there is it's wide open in the SEC. Georgia took care of business today. You know, Georgia's always going to be there. They're incredibly talented, very well coached. Georgia's always going to be there, but you see Georgia, you see Alabama. Texas looks like they've taken a little bit of a fall here. Ole Miss is definitely at the top, if not at the top. I think they deserve that certainly, and but LSU's right there, and so we're going to see what happens with Mississippi State and Texas A&M tonight. That's always an interesting game, LSU and A&M. Whether it's at the end of the year and at the end of October, there always seems to be something weird that happens. It's just kind of one of those games. I know they want to say it's a rivalry, and look, maybe technically it is, but I know Tiger fans would probably disagree, and so we'll just leave it at that in the sense that LSU has a tough schedule ahead, but just looking at what we've seen today in college football, particularly with the quarterbacks. LSU's in no worse shape than anybody else, and I think that they would still be classified as one of the top 5 most talented rosters in the country. And so here we go. Let's go. And so, just a few names to keep an eye out for here going into the second half of the season, particularly when we're trying to run the football on offense. It's just been really, really a grind, particularly for 2 years now. But it was different when you had Jaden Daniels and he could take that zone read 70 yards at any moment, but we don't have that anymore. And it's confusing why we're still running that, particularly with the running back. He's got his feet in the ground, stuck in the mud. He's got no momentum when he's being fed the handoff. And so you just want to think about going to the running game. Harlan Berry, he didn't have a lot of yards last week, but in the short amount of time that we saw him, you could see an explosiveness, you could see some electricity, and that's all you need. And LSU's had plenty of those backs over the past 30 years, and it doesn't take a lot, and you can't explain it. And one guy looks like he's going to be the guy, but he's not. And then one guy, and then he just takes it off. And so LSU thankfully has never been short on backs, and Harlan Berry needs to touch the football more because the running game is stale right now. Hopefully Caden Durham coming back healthy in the second half here, but they need to get more exotic in terms of their blocking up front. That's where I go with Carius Kern. I've been saying for weeks he needs to play guard. I know just people in general, a lot of the Tiger community has said he just needs to play in general, and I agree. He's just physical. I think he was your 3rd highest blocker on Saturday, and he came in at the last minute after Weston Davis was hurt. And so Carius Kern needs to find himself in the top 5 somewhere. And I think everybody would agree that he is going to be a nasty guard and make millions in the NFL. So just get him there. Hopefully let Weston Davis continue to move along at the right tackle position. And then I think that'll be your best 5 there. Because Paul Mbinga, he's got a high ankle sprain right now. Those are very tough, particularly for offensive linemen that depend heavily on their ankles, particularly their upper ankles. And so, look, Carius Kern's got to make it onto the field and just have Braylon Moore tell him where to go and let the big fella roll. So the other guy I'm looking for is Chris Hilton. And the reason is I know everybody's been talking about him for 5 years, but he's healthy. You can tell that when the ball is thrown his way, he wants it. He's got the ability. He's talented. He can catch it with his hands. What we know about his blazing 23-mile-an-hour speed, he needs to find the football. And so if Nussmeier is getting healthier and he can stretch it down the field, number 3 is going to be your first phone call. And if Nuss can't, then they need to give Michael Van Buren a shot, because if anyone goes and takes a look at his tape at Mississippi State last year, he throws a mean deep ball, a mean deep ball. So that would just be real deprivation to these wide receivers and the talent that the Tigers have. So Chris Hilton, Harlan Berry, Carius Kern. On defense, there's not a lot of guys you could ask for because you've probably seen a lot of them. For me, it could be a special teams combo, but CJ Jim Coyley, I mean, the way that he looks in the uniform, he's got Eric Reed-esque, Laron Landry-esque vibes to him. I mean, he made some pretty big plays against Ole Miss on special teams, big tackles. And so you think about our championship years and you had guys making big plays like a Jarvis Landry, and special teams is just massive to the Tigers. CJ Jim Coyley, Tyrann Mathieu. I mean, think about what he did in 2011 as well. Just championship play after championship play. And so, no, I'm not saying that CJ Jim Coyley is Tyrann Mathieu, but it's just good to see him. And then you see number 30, Charles Ross, all over the field, Zach Weeks. So it's just that linebacking crew, but particularly 31. I'm really excited to see him lay a few more people out this second half. And so, look, I think we got to feel better than we did last week. We didn't lose tonight, so that's a good thing. But I think we can see that LSU can be competitive this season for a national championship, an SEC championship, and that's really all you can ask for. And if Blake Baker keeps playing defense like this, and we can just get Nussmeier playing a little bit more like himself last year, I think the sky's the limit for the Tigers in terms of what they want to accomplish. But that's going to be it for now here on Louisiana Boot Crew Media. Thanks again to Revel Asphalt Services. Love them. Really appreciate them. Best in the New Orleans area by far. So make sure you give them a call. Make sure you ask for Millard. He's going to take really good care of you. We're going to have a bunch for you throughout the week. Definitely something on Wednesday and Friday, and we'll have a post-game show for you. Couple good interviews after, and so that'll be next Saturday night after the South Carolina game, and so we'll be looking forward to that. But for now, go Tigers.